Hi everyone. We're now going to shift our focus away from Vivaldi and towards Bach. Now, his life has a lot packed into it, so we're going to take our time and split this bio lecture into two separate videos. Now, Bach was born in 1685, so we're talking within a decade here of Vivaldi, and then he died in 1750, so again, within a decade here of Vivaldi. Looking at our level 9 history timeline, we can see that Bach's death marks this artificially created end date to the Baroque period. Bach really represents the pinnacle of Baroque music making. While he didn't invent any genres per se, he really perfected what already existed. Bach's career is just so expansive that we're going to give him his own timeline here. So, starting in 1703, we have the Arnstadt Mulhausen period, the Weimar period starting in 1708, the Cothen period in 1717, and the Leipzig period starting in 1723, and ending with Bach's death in 1750. In this first lecture, we're just going to be focusing on the first two of these four periods, as well as providing an overview of Bach's earlier life. So, J.S. Bach was born in Eisenach, Germany in the year 1685 into a family of musicians, including a lot of composers. Now, J.S.'s father was a court trumpeter, and it seems likely that he began his son's musical training in violin and some degree of music theory. It's kind of funny now to think that the great Johann Sebastian Bach was, when he came into this world, just another sheep in the family's musical herd. Tragically, however, at only 10 years of age, J.S. was orphaned, and it was at this time that he moved in with his older brother, Johann Christoph, who was also himself a composer and an organist at St. Michael's Church in Ohrdruf. Johann Christoph continued to cultivate his brother's musical education, which their father had begun, but also ensured that J.S. went to a school and learned theology along with Greek, Latin, French, Italian. Now, like his brother before him, J.S. became a very talented organist, but as would later be seen in his six solo partitas and sonatas for violin, he was also this skilled and masterful violinist. He's also a choral singer while he was in school, and was actually trained in the art of building and repairing musical instruments. So this guy could really do it all, and his musical ability was quickly becoming apparent. The Arnstadt Mulhausen period actually starts in Weimar. In 1703, Bach became a court musician for Duke Johann Ernst III in Weimar, but after only 7 months, Bach was invited to give a recital on this brand new organ in a church in Arnstadt, after which he became the church's organist in 1703. Now, Bach had educational duties, but was apparently a pretty brutal instructor. One student even tried to attack him with a stick because Bach was just so harsh. Sometime around 1705, we see Bach go to Lübeck, which is a city 450 or so kilometers away from Arnstadt. Bach has one goal only. He wants to meet Dietrich Buxtehude, who's this legendary organist in this period. And to do so, Bach gains permission from his Arnstadt employer to take a leave of absence. Bach walks this entire distance, 450 kilometers each way, and he spends an extra 3-month period in Lübeck than his Arnstadt employers had allowed him to do. It turns out that this was probably a pretty good idea because Buxtehude, this guy who Bach wanted to go see, had died soon after in 1707, so Bach really got this legend's last years out of him. Now, around 1707, Bach moves to Mulhausen for a job as an organist and composer in yet another church, and it's during this time that he marries his second cousin, yes, his cousin, Maria Barbara Bach, whose father was also an organist. They have some kids, including Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach, CPE Bach, and Wilhelm Friedmann Bach, who eventually became great composers in their own right, especially CPE. Now we enter the Weimar period. In 1708, Bach moves back to Weimar with his family, where he is employed by Wilhelm Ernst, the Duke of Weimar. And during this period, Bach begins to put a significant amount of time and effort into keyboard and orchestral composition. Now, interestingly, Bach would also transcribe a lot of Vivaldi's music for harpsichord and organ since he was intrigued by this Italian way of composing, which placed a huge amount of emphasis on ritornello form, which we've talked about quite a bit previously. During the Weimar period, Bach's fame as an organist also spreads, and he churns out just this huge amount of music for church settings, including cantatas and chorale settings. He composes this book of chorale preludes called the Little Organ Book. Prelude is a short keyboard work in an improvisatory style, which is often paired with a fugue. As far as fugues are concerned, we're going to discuss them a lot more when we talk about the well-tempered clavier in detail over the next couple of lectures. First, right now, though, we really just need to know what a prelude is. And this Little Organ Book is a series of short improvisatory-like pieces for organ which precede chorales. Now, you don't need to memorize this next definition for the purposes of the Level 9 exam, but it's just a good thing to know since chorales make up just this ginormous chunk of Bach's compositional output. A chorale is a musical composition consisting of or resembling a harmonized version of a simple stately hymn tune. I'm going to drop a link in the description of one of Bach's more famous chorale settings for you to have a listen to. More likely than not, you're going to recognize it, and the form is probably going to be very familiar to you as well. Beyond that, I don't think it's a great use of time to focus on it too much since we are going to be spending a lot of time on fugues. In 1717, Bach takes a new job for Prince Leopold of Cothen and tries to get himself dismissed from Weimar's court. Now, the Duke of Weimar takes this rather poorly and actually throws Bach in jail for a month. But he eventually accepts that he can't hold Bach in prison indefinitely here. And so makes the decision to discharge him from his duties in Weimar and allow him to be employed in Cothen. And that's part one of this two-part series on the life of Bach. Thanks for listening.